This episode is sponsored by SKS Luxury Appliances. If you've spent time around Signature Kitchen Suite, one thing designers notice right away is the technology. The interface feels familiar and intuitive because it's the same engineering that comes from LG, the company that produces the systems used in many of the luxury vehicles people drive today. Clients recognize it instantly and know how to navigate it, but SKS is also investing in designers through their Designer Rewards program and by sponsoring IDC. If you're specifying kitchens for serious cooks, give SKS a look. Learn more at sksappliances.com. SKS, built for people who truly love cooking. Hi, I'm Lori with To the Trade for Interior Design Community, and I have Susan with me. Susan, hi. How are you?
Fine. How are you?
Good. It's, this week we just talked about it, the wildfires in Canada. I feel so bad for everyone in Canada, and we're experiencing all the smog and smoke and yellowness. And so
Yeah. Even in Virginia, we have.
over it.
Okay.
And we definitely want everyone in Canada to be safe. But let's talk a little bit I want to introduce our amazing interior design community audience to you, Susan Jamieson, Bridget Berry. You are prolific. You've done design, you have a shop, you have product lines, you've done education for designers, you've done it all in your career. You're in Virginia.
Yes.
I want you to explain a little bit about you and your business, and I'm sure some of our audience already knows you.
Okay.
But for those who don't,
Yes. Okay. Well, I guess the main thing to know is my name is not Bridget. The company is Bridget
yeah.
and
There are a
Beari.
few of these businesses out there that
You-
people always think that, right?
I get called Bridget all the time. Oh,
I'm
Miss
sure you do.
Beari, where are you? Know, I'm like, oh yeah, I just work for her. You know, but
Isn't
Bridget
that?
and Barry are dogs. They are
Yes.
my dogs, and they're not here anymore because it's been 35 years that I've been in interior design. So that's having Bridget Berry Designs as a design firm. I did work for someone else before that. We have the design firm. We work all over, mostly on the East Coast, but we've done international work in Mexico and Costa Rica. But we also started a furniture, like a retail store, Bridget Berry Home Store, where we sell different brands, more of the things that I love, more of the things that I can bring in. But this home store was really made to sell the products, which are a paint line, Bridget Berry paint colors, and a wallpaper line that we sell at different showrooms across the East Coast, but we also sell them in our store. So that whole branding, marketing thing we can talk about. But the latest venture is a brand new book. So a book called
Yes.
Bridget Berry Color Rules that started as a blog and is now a book.
I love it. I mean, I always think it's remarkable creatives like you who get into a space, they're learning, they're teaching, they're building an empire to some degree, and that creativity just kind of filters its way into so many different things. And it's fascinating to me because there are so many people we admire in our world that have built these different, income streams, but also ways of reaching the public, also ways of educating. And I just think it's, is it the creativity that leads you to think, well, I should do this, and then I should
Yeah.
do this, and then I should do
Well,
this? How is
Well,
that
you
work
do
for
it
you?
anyway. I think we do it anyway because we're working on different projects and we're designing or creating a table that doesn't exist. I mean, that's how the paints came, around was, there's 10 million paint colors, but I never have the right paint color. I've
Right.
got to tweak this one. I've got to make it darker or lighter. It's got to add more white. So that's kind of how that started, was just me having all these colors and saying, well, a client said, well, you should put them all together. I'm like, well, that would be smart. Instead of having all these pieces of paper of little formulas that I would go into Sherwin-Williams, can you make this?
Right.
So that's how that started, and just having my own colors sort of are tried and true. It doesn't mean I don't use other people's colors. People always ask me, well, you don't use anybody? No, because I never have the right color. I mean, I'm
Right.
looking for very specific things, but then that was sort of a sideline into the wallpaper, looking for things I couldn't find. That's how furniture gets designed. You can't find that creative thing that you're looking for. So I
Right.
think it
Right.
all
And
starts
I
with this
mean,
profession.
I've seen it. I mean, I've seen it now hundreds of times where design, and typically and this is something that I really believe you should absolutely pay attention to if you're listening. Like, the thing is, sometimes I feel like designers will not support the design trade thing. Maybe there's a little jealousy there. Maybe there's something that's linking there. But I do know designers who do it, who are very specifically working with designer created products. And I will tell you, it's for them, it's a huge shortcut because just like you, they're experiencing the same product holes that are missing or colors that are missing. And so sometimes it can be like a shortcut to something that you are also looking for. And it's also, if we want more and more designer led products like that come from our community, we have to support the ones that exist.
And I
It
think
is an imperative thing.
it's a different market now. I feel like maybe 15 years ago, you were only looking at big brands, but now even when you go to High Point, there's so many small brands. And what you can do with a small brand is get them to tweak anything. You can tweak
Right.
the color of the wallpaper, you can tweak the size of the wallpaper, the scale of the wallpaper, where a larger brand maybe, they've got it, they're going to sell it, that's done. But for us, it's like, you want it in purple? Yeah, I can make it purple. You want me to change the size of the flower? Sure, I can change the size of the flower. So
Right.
I think that is good for designers to know that, the smaller the brand, the more flexibility.
Right, right. And also you can't be shopped as much because
Right.
it's not
Well,
out there everywhere else. If
that's
you
true.
tweaked it a little bit and you made it a little bit custom,
Right.
then it becomes something that your client can't reverse image search and go, "Oh, I found it $20 cheaper. Can we buy it from this unknown name source?"
Right.
Like, which I think is super important. So you like in the beginning, you both studied both interior design and art history. What led you to, I mean, I know that you fell in love with design from a young age. Most designers have that story, but what really led you to commit to this industry? Is really not an easy industry to be a part of.
Okay, so this is the story. So I went to college to be in economics, stockbroker. And I was so bored by the size of the classes because I came from a small high school that the size of the class they were just, I don't know, just totally bored out of my mind. And my mother had decided to renovate my grandmother's house. And it was in the same town where I went to college. So she hired an architect and an interior designer, but she was afraid to go to the meetings because she thought they would talk her into things she wouldn't like. So she asked me to walk across the street basically and come to the meetings. So when I went to the meetings, I hit it off immediately with the designer. I don't know what happened. It was like I understood what she was doing. I liked the whole process with the architect. I just fell in love with it right then and there. I didn't really, I mean, my grandmother was very into like houses and furniture. My mother was sort of, but maybe didn't have the background, but that was like the key. And then I worked for that designer like in the summers, ended up leaving, graduating from one college and then going to design school. So getting another degree in design. And then from there, just worked for other people until it was time to start Bridget Berry. It was sort of, there it was, right in front
Organic.
of me.
Yeah, yeah. Feel
Never
like it.
looked back.
And isn't that the way the life is though? That you just the everything when you look back, it's this building block that gets you to where you need to go anyway. So I feel like those things always kind of seem to happen for people that along the way, it was almost like we've all been led to where we need to
Right.
be.
Yeah, definitely.
No, because obviously this is a fit. Obviously this was meant to be for you. Now you mentioned in that story, I think it's fascinating that your mom thought that the designer would talk them into things that they don't like. I don't think that's changed. Do you?
Well, maybe not. Maybe
So the
not. I mean,
consumers still think that of designers.
right.
And I feel like that means we have a lot more work to do to educate the public about what we don't want to create spaces you don't want to live in.
No,
Period.
of
We don't
course
want to
not.
buy things you
Of
don't
course
want
not.
or
But I
talk you
do
into things you
think
don't want.
I do think clients don't know what they want, and I
Sure.
do hear this a lot. Like somebody will tell me they're contemporary, and what does that mean? And it ends up like they're super traditional. I'm like,
Right.
they don't even know what that word means. So
Right.
our job is trying to figure out what it is they're trying to say. And sometimes they think they like something, but that's not what they mean. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of figuring it out too.
There really is. There really is. So your company, you just said, were named after your rescue dogs. We have a rescue dog too. Her
Okay.
name
Oh,
is
good.
Bailey.
Okay.
She is a big old pain in my butt. She's still alive. She's a senior dog right now, and she's grumpy. Did you you built this brand, and I'm sure you, like you said, you get a lot of people call you Bridget. But did you think that this helped you kind of separate yourself by naming it not your name? Like a lot of your competitors have named their business after their name, and then it's kind of like,
I
it's
got
hard to go through divorce. It's hard to go through,
Well, I got
like
a
life
lot of slack
happens,
in that.
right?
A lot of
Yeah,
people criticized that in the beginning. That's not right. It should be you. It doesn't work. The branding doesn't work. Nobody knows who Susan Jamieson is. And I'm like, well, I don't care. I mean,
right?
I wanted it to be separate. Like I want it to be the brand, and then I may want to sell this one day, or I want
I happen
other
to agree with
products
you.
one day. And Susan
I'm on
Jameson
your
using
side on
this.
this. I
Yeah,
think you're right. I think that sometimes when it's very personal and it is your name, then it becomes like it's harder to hire people. It's harder to like get, nobody wants the B team. So it's
no,
harder to
right.
say,
And that's the
I've got
way
an
it
assistant you're gonna be working with or
That's the way it was when I worked for the other lady before we started Bridget Berry. It was like she wanted me to buy the business, and I'm like, "But nobody wants me. Like, they want
right,
you. So why would I
right,
buy your business? I might as well be my own person." And then I
right.
was like, "Well, I don't wanna be." Susan Jameson just didn't sound very fun. Bridget Berry seemed very fun, and my friends would be like, "She named her business Brigitte Berry." I'm like, "Well, that sounds fabulous, but it's
Right?
really just dogs, you know?" But Brigitte
I hear
Berry sounds
you.
fabulous.
My maiden name was Chambers, and I always liked the fact that I never ever had to tell anyone how to spell it. And then married my husband, became Leisure, and I get Laurie Lejour
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
all the time, and I'm like, oh,
yeah. It sounds so exciting.
very fancy.
Yeah, but
I love
it's
it.
been great. I've enjoyed it as a brand. I mean, I've enjoyed
I
the
think it's
name.
great, and
I like
people love
being a little
dogs.
like incognito. I kind of like that. Not everybody
Yeah,
knows
yeah,
who I am, but with the book, it's been a little bit hard because people are like, "Well, who's Bridget Berry?" But it's fun. It's a fun story to tell, and that's
yeah.
good.
I agree. Well, your work has ranged so many different aspects. One of the things I love is that you are constantly working in historic Southern homes. And what draws you to that? I mean, obviously, the South, there's a lot of historic homes to choose from. And we're in New England, so that's the same here. I'm an old house lover, as you can probably tell. How has that worked for you? I mean, there's a lot you have to learn when you're working on a historic home.
Well, I think because I grew up in a historic home, my grandmother clearly had an historic home for that was renovated. I knew a lot about that, plus the art history background, which was a lot of decorative arts. I feel like that helped. And being in Richmond, in Virginia, of course, there are historic homes. Just the process of learning throughout the years, different styles, different techniques. What works. I think what's really important about our interior design business is we don't do just one style, really. I mean,
Right.
if somebody wants to take an historic home and they wanna make something really cool and modern off the side, great. If it works and it works architecturally and, we're all for doing something different, so it's not always the Southern style. I think our
Sure.
portfolio
Yeah.
shows, like, a range of different styles and different things, but of course, the historic homes are, you know, true to my heart. I live in a 1924 home, and so I know, what that's all about. So, and
Sure.
growing up in Williamsburg, where I went to college, that is a lot of historic homes as well.
That town is so gorgeous. So my husband and I did a trek and I really do love Virginia, just so you know. I think it's gorgeous there and I've thought maybe retiring there because do like seasons still,
Yes.
I don't know if I don't know if I would want to live in Florida, you know.
Yeah.
So I thought about that could be a place and I went to a city called Hampton.
Yes, Hampton.
Yeah, and they have a little island there called Grandview Island that I thought was just stunning. Like, it's just, like, miles of beach, and it feels very isolated, and it's a little golf cart community, but it's still close to things. So it kinda felt like the Outer Banks, but
Right.
you didn't have to wait,
Yeah.
2 hours of driving to get to a grocery
To go a
store on the
mile. To
beach.
go a mile. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So I really love it there in Williamsburg. We went to see, and it was just so fun. Reminded me of New England actually,
Yeah. A little
as
bit.
far as like some of the architecture and homes there. You create these beautiful experiences for your clients too. It's not just like about design, it's about really holistically understanding your client. And I feel like you really dig in there. And what has helped you kind of grow that aspect of really working with the client, really understanding them, really full servicing that project and meeting them where they are? How do you do that?
Well, I think it's the experience of different clients. So, I will have like an architect who's very much into green, green building, and I get that experience. Or we did the house in Mexico, which was completely eco-friendly, had its own septic system, windmill power, it was right open air. So everything had to be, ocean friendly. There were barely any plumbing fixtures that would work because they all get corroded by the salt air because it's wide open. I mean, just learning all those little things, even though in Mexico that was an extreme, coming to someone's pool house and knowing, what plumbing is going to work just because it's got a saltwater pool or this or that just helps throughout the 35 years, growing that one by one. Somebody's interested in feng shui, well, I learned a lot from them. I had an Indian client who I had to design a puja for, an altars. Learned all about that. It's just all these amazing things from my clients. Just build one thing, learning, one thing at a time. It's very interesting job.
This is why I love talking to designers that have had years in the industry. I mean, if I am in a room full of 100 designers and there's a group of designers who have 20, 30 years of experience, you're going to find me over there
Yeah. I
because
mean,
it's just that is what you do. In a career of 20, 30 years, you're going to pick up different techniques, different processes, different ways of improving your system. And as a young designer, you need to be seeking these relationships too. You should be reaching out to designers that you see that have this kind of experience because you can just learn so much just listening and experiencing that. And that comes back to your book. You're explaining so much in your book. Tell us a little bit about why, our community should be buying the book.
well, I think it was meant for the average homeowner. So
Sure.
starts off like very simple with a little bit of color theory. Although doing these talks, other designers have said, oh, it's a great refresher for me. Like I'm learning just to refresh this idea. So it started as a blog. There were 76 color rules. There were things that I always, for some reason, I'm good at picking colors. One client calls me the queen of color. I don't know really why. I can maybe see it differently than others, or I know different things about color. So I wrote all these blogs about how you should always look at your roof and don't forget your roof before you pick the outside of your house, or what
True.
inspires you for your house. What are the tips and tricks, blah, blah, blah. And so we pared it all down into this lovely book. And this is one of my wallpapers, my
I
Buscemi.
love it. Love it.
It ended up being 70 color rules, starting with color theory and working its way through how do you find inspiration? What do different colors mean? What's the psychology of colors? How do you combine different colors? What is an LRV? How do you pick colors to flatter yourself? Then down to like tips and tricks of how you store paint and what you should do with combining different aspects like high gloss and flat, blah, blah, blah. So there's 70 color rules. I feel like it's almost like a little study book that I would come back to. Like if I was a new designer, of course, a new homeowner, a homeowner that was just starting with a new house or wanted to do these things on their own,
I mean, you
or
could
a
even give
designer.
this to a client in the
Yeah,
beginning of the process of understanding color
you're
so
just
that
going
they
back to it.
yeah,
Time
yeah.
and time. And it's not just about paint. It's more about, wallpaper, how you combine different things in a room. It's a little bit about art, how art affects a room, how wallpaper, how you're picking your furnitures or your fabrics, how to create a full scheme dealing with colors within a room is basically
Right,
what the
and
color rules
probably
do.
extending that out to the flow of the whole home, and which is a lot of times what I think people get wrong when they're DIYing design. They, pick a room and then they maybe go on Pinterest, find some inspiration, and then that's the room. But then you walk to the next room and it doesn't feel like this is in the same house. Like, why, what were we thinking here? You know? And that's
There's
one
a
of the things
rule
when you
called go
meet
with the flow. So
designers,
it's meant to
yeah,
be go with the flow, like
go with the
make it
flow.
flow. And I feel like people buy things they love, but they
Mhm.
don't know how to put them together. So
Right,
all this
right.
talk about, oh, AI is going to take over. I really think people, they don't know how to put them together. Even if AI tells you exactly what the room's, it still looks, they can't put all that stuff together. That's why I still think we'll be here.
Well, I think so too. And honestly, the other that people don't recognize with AI is that it's it's condensing things down to averages. Who would want something that's condensed down to averages for your house? I mean,
Well,
that's
the scale's always wrong.
the
There's always
scale's
something that's
wrong.
wrong.
You know, you don't know that it's going to fit in. You don't know that it's a real product. It could be just a figment of AI's imagination.
Right,
I mean,
right.
it's literally, and I feel like over the course, I do content generation for interior design communities, so we do make a lot of images on AI. And I can tell you, over the past 2 years, in some ways it's gotten better, but in some ways it's gotten worse. Like, you have to really understand how to prompt. My prompts are long. They're like, because I train AI how to prompt now, and you have to think of lighting, you have to think of colors, you have to think of pattern. Imagine having to type all that out. You
Yeah,
can't. You have to
I think,
disseminate
yeah,
photographs that are real and then turn that into contextually like prompting, and then you have to mix those things up so you're not trying to recreate someone else's work, things
right.
like that.
I
Or
think,
just say one of your wallpapers. You're like, I love this wallpaper. I want my client to understand it. I want to put it into a rendering or something like that. And there are ways that you can kind of quick render with it
yeah,
that are not terrible.
which I
Yeah.
use just to show people ideas, but I still
Yeah.
think designers aren't going anywhere.
No,
Most of my
it's a
clients don't have
service-based business.
time. They don't have
It is
time
a
to put
service.
something in AI,
Yeah.
and then they don't have time to set the whole house up, and you still have to do it.
Yeah, you
Order
still
it,
you
manage
can call
it.
the vendors.
Yeah,
You can get it all ordered to the
yeah.
receiver. You can all
They don't wanna
they
do
don't want
that.
your job.
They're like, "Just handle it. Just make it happen and make it beautiful."
Yeah, yeah. There's literally thousands of moving parts. I don't think it'd be
Right.
super easy for someone to take over. How do you when speaking of that, when you're interviewing in the process of the client in the beginning and you're thinking, I want this to reflect their style. And it's clear you worked with lots of different clients with lots of different styles. How do you determine that? What does your process look like from the very beginning to figure that out for them?
I feel like it's just a lot of listening. I do start somewhere. I mean, if we'll usually do a walkthrough of what they have, and I kinda see what they like or what they kind of dislike or like about the house that they're in now, if they're building a house. I will sort of say this is what I think. I always come up with big ideas. Like, I always tell them, "I'm gonna come up with some big ideas. You just have to be open-minded, because I'm telling you, in 2 months, you're gonna say, 'Remember that thing you said in the beginning? Maybe we should.'" Because once you start trusting me, you're gonna realize that maybe the big idea was the right thing. So I think it's just making that relationship, but I will kind of start. Like, I'll start throwing things out if it's a whole house scheme. Like right now, we're doing a condo in New York, and they're customers I've had, but this is a completely different look for them. It's very modern, it's very minimal, and they're Southern, traditional colonial. So that doesn't work. So I'm kind of throwing out what I think works in this New York condo, and they're kind of trying to figure out how they feel about, we're working together trying to figure out how they feel about changing their entire style to go with the
Sure.
condo, or do I mix a few of those pieces in with this more contemporary look? So we're figuring that out together. I think that's kind of how I kind of wing it,
I
I'm
love that
saying what
though.
I think looks good, and then they're kind of saying what they're comfortable with.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, I feel like that's really great to do for them because I feel like when you go into a space, and I think we've all experienced this, when you've stayed at a totally different designed hotel or Airbnb, or you've been on vacation and you're staying somewhere that the design is completely different than what you normally live in, it's almost like it does affect your personality. It's almost like it does change the way you navigate life
right,
too.
right.
So I can see that. I can see that someone with all the Southern home having a New York, very minimalist, very modern
It's almost
place.
rustic. It's got this
Yeah.
rustic feel, and it's like
Industrial, maybe a little bit,
and the
there's so
kids live below, so they're getting the condo above, and so I think they're kinda doing it for the kids too, so I didn't wanna make
sure.
it too, like, older, and
Right, right.
I feel like they are gonna take over this thing at
Yeah.
someday, so I'm trying to mix between everybody and because the kids are on the Zoom call, like, we're all Zooming together, they're kinda part of this whole process, so it's
I
been
love
fun.
that.
It's fun.
I think that's another thing that we don't sell enough about what we do is your thought process. And so many designers I know who are experienced have that thought process. You're without even telling them you're doing it, you're future proofing their design. You're like, this is what I think is coming. And so I'm preparing the design for all the things coming into your life. Maybe I have another design friend who's renovating a space because that person also wants to be near grandkids. And like they're thinking about the baby that's there. But
Right.
this designer's like, well, that baby is only going to be a baby for a little
Right, right.
while. So we've got to think about how that space can convert. It's not a full time nursery,
Right.
because you're not the full-time parent. You have to think about this in a different way if you're the grandparent and how you would want the space to be for the company that you're going to have and how it's going to evolve. I just love that designers they're just thinking so strategically for you and it just never I don't think it gets translated enough to the client how much you do for
We
them.
work I mean, most clients that I have, it's like the 4th or 5th house. So,
Right.
we get all this repeat business. And another job I have is in DC, and she has 2 houses, and she wants her own apartment in DC on Pennsylvania Avenue. She wants her own apartment, and she wants it completely girly. Like, she's like, "This is all me, nobody else. It's a 1 bedroom. I want it girly." So I know her because we've done 3 or 4 houses, so it's interesting how she wants something completely different, and that's fun for me. Like, well, I don't want to do the same thing over and over. I want to do a different style. So this one's going to be super Frenchy and, like her little
Pied
parish
à terre.
apartment. Yeah,
I love it.
she's going to have a great time. I can't wait for
I
that
can't
one
I
too.
want to be invited.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds amazing. So let's talk about building these lines. How did that work financially for you? Was this difficult to take on when you built the paint, the wallpaper, the retail store, now the book? These are sometimes they're financial investments for designers to do these kinds of things. Has that been a financial investment for you? And how have you incorporated that into your regular business?
The paint, it's all the marketing materials and things that were more I mean, it's a time investment. I had to formulate all these colors. They were very time consuming. But the marketing materials like the fan decks and the color cards and I mean that was a financial investment. But,
Sure.
we have sold those over the years because the paints have been out maybe 15 years. So it's been
Right.
a while. So that's been fine. I mean, that's past, right? We've made that money up for that investment.
Right.
Wallpapers weren't a huge investment up front, but having memos and always producing more wallpaper, that is an investment because you've
Is
always
that digitally printed wallpaper? Are you doing that digital print?
yes, well, it's digitally printed. We have grass cloth, metallic grounds, and there are 3 different there's one in California, the manufacturer, one in Detroit, and one in Connecticut. So 3 different people making different wallpapers because of different grounds. But keeping up with having all of the memos, we have different showrooms in Atlanta and New York and Chicago, and we had one in Dallas and one in DC. Everybody's got to have memos.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
we're cutting and stapling memos continually.
I
So
hear
that,
you.
that
I
takes
know I
everyone
know that
away from,
world very
yeah,
well, so I remember it.
yeah, it takes everyone away from what they're doing at the store when they're having to, you know, send out memos all the time. But, that's the only way to get it in the hands of the designers, you know. So that it is a little bit of an investment, but I think the payoff is great. Now the book, I self-published the book because I felt like,
You
I
had the
felt like I could
content.
make more money.
Right.
I mean, I could make more money because the book, it just seemed ridiculous to not make a dime on the book and have this book that I really wanted, and I wanted it in a very specific way. So I ended up doing that. We found a printer in China and it worked out great. The price point was amazing. And so, I mean, it just started. It just launched in April. So we're just right in it right now. So
Yeah,
hopefully,
I think you had a pre-order, right? So,
yes.
and it is on Amazon.
Yes, it's on Amazon,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
and on
So
our
go,
website, yes. So we've,
yeah.
as these things come across, I think we've done different podcasts, people are buying from Amazon or wherever. We're doing a talk for Schumacher in Charlotte next week. It's just fun, and I think it's been a greatly received by other people, so I'm excited about it. But
I'm sure it will
financially,
be.
yes. I mean, yes, it is a commitment. I mean,
Yeah,
you have to
yeah.
have
I
a
think
chunk of
this is a
cash.
dream for so many designers who are starting out. They see people like you at High Point and speaking at events, and they just, how would I get there? What would I do to be able to be speaking or have a book or have a paint line? Like that's the dream of so many young designers
But I think if
today.
you have something to say and it's unique, I think nowadays with digital printing, just even the book, the wallpapers, if you have something have a point of view, something to say, a unique perspective, unique design, it's so much easier nowadays to create those things than maybe it was 15 years ago where there weren't a lot of opportunities. And
But I
and
feel like you
Instagram
also
alone.
you have a great business background too. Like your fundamentals are there. And so having all of those things or having even a good point of view, part of it is marketing it. Part of it is building those relationships to get it out there and sell it. And it's clear you were able to find those great relationships and then keep them nourished over years. And that's not easy to do. I
Right.
mean,
Well, now we
so
do
that's
have
part,
Instagram now. I mean, Instagram is something that didn't exist before where you couldn't
right.
get to everyone. You
Yeah,
just couldn't
yeah.
get there. So I think that helps
It is a
people.
huge advantage to have social media and to be able to kind of own it and figure it out. Now, you also have done work with show houses. Did that help you with launching your paint, your wallpaper?
I refuse to do a show house forever. And then, because I'm like, that's
It's so
expensive.
expensive. That is
I mean,
expensive.
50, $60,000, depending on what you can get for free and what you can't.
Right.
But then when we launched the wallpaper, I felt like I wanted a spot to have really good pictures of the wallpaper that I didn't,
Sure.
I just wanted to have like a show. I just wanted a picture event. So I did 2 in DC and 2 in Richmond and then 1 Massey Cancer Southern Living House. And yes, they were expensive, but did I get good pictures? Yes. Was it good marketing? Yes. Will I do another one? No.
Okay. I
I mean,
don't think all of them needed to
I
know.
mean, it's just too much. It's too much for and a lot of time. I mean, if you're gonna do it
Yeah.
right, you need to stand there and market
Yes.
yourself and stand there and meet people and do everything you can do after you've spent this money to showcase, if you're trying to get clients. But if you're a young designer, that's a great way to get clients. If you can get a smaller room somewhere and you can get someone to sponsor some of your things, I mean, that's a great way to get out there and get great
Yeah.
pictures if you don't have a portfolio.
Sure. Sure. Absolutely. Now, when you put your name on a product, and in this case, it's not your name per se, do you feel like there's something there about like your brand name is now becoming on a product? Do you feel a little scared about that? Is that something that you feel like, oh no, this could affect this, or do you feel like that builds on it?
I think it definitely built. I mean, I'm proud of the paints because I use them all the time, and I'm proud of the wallpaper. I love seeing other designers use the wallpaper
Well,
when
I'm
they
sure you do. That
show
must be
me
so fun.
pictures. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so fun to watch like different wallpapers go out of the office. Like one time, I don't know every designer, but one time it was shipping to Geraldo Rivera. It said Geraldo Rivera's dining room, and I'm like, oh, exciting! And
You're
it's
like,
just fun to
woo!
like never saw that dining room, don't know what it looks like, don't know that designer, but that's exciting to see other people say, this is cool and I want to use it. they use it on lampshades, or they do something different that I've never thought of, and I'm like, wow, that's really cool.
And they're
So
presenting it to their client who is saying yes, which is also
yeah,
another like, "Woo, pat myself
yeah,
on the
yeah,
back."
yeah. Which I think it's great. I love it when they share it with me, what they've done. So that's really exciting. So
I can't say that enough to you all is, when you work with great, especially small makers, small manufacturers, the best thing you can do that builds this relationship is take a photo yourself that if you're on photo shoot day or even not, like it'd be best if it was on photo shoot day, take some that you own the copyright to and then gift it. Like you can use this to your manufacturers because they love it. It's like sending them a love letter that they will be like, I'm going to cherish this relationship with this particular designer because they get that that's what I need to make my business successful too. And it creates really great friendships and partnerships that keep you, like connected to this industry in a different way. And it's hard sometimes for people to see it, that second of being like giving or thinking of someone else because we're all in our own world. We're all thinking about what we need to get done. And I've been on install day. It's exhausting. It's
yeah,
so it's a hard thing to do that at the end of the day when you finally like, oh, this is already beautiful. I want my client to see it and I want to go home and take a bath and go to
right,
bed.
right, exactly.
But those little moments where you're like thinking about those brands or all of those makers that made things for your project and they never get to see it. They never get to see it in the beautiful room that you created. It's such a gift. It's such a gift. So I always want to encourage designers that are listening to do that because I know manufacturers who just like cherish those photos so much and they're so proud of it to see the work done. They're going home and showing their families too. And look,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
in
I love it.
Geraldo Rivera's house.
Yeah, I love it when they share it. It's great.
You know
I
what I
mean,
mean? Like, wow, look at
yeah.
that. That's so cool. How do you feel about the design industry today? As coming in the 90s and all of the economic changes that have happened over the years, not to switch it too much, but how are you feeling about the design industry right now?
Well, I think it's hysterical that it's all going back to the 80s. I mean,
Right?
moire, stripes. I'm like, tapestry. I'm like, what is happening? I'm like,
Oversized
1980
florals
all over
everywhere,
again. And so
cabbage roses.
it's just funny. And brass, the whole thing. I mean, that cracks me up because when I go to High Point, I'm like, oh, look at that. It's like tapestry all over again. That
Yeah, yeah.
that forest tapestry. I mean, I think it's exciting that it's changed. I think it's changed for the better. I think there's more access to things. I I mean, even in the 80s, High Point was like kind of closed off. Like you couldn't get into certain showrooms, and even
Sure.
as a designer, I mean, that whole thing changed like in the 90s. Now you pretty much have access to almost everything. Although, as you said, some people like visual comforter going more retail. I mean, there are different vendors that are trying different things, but I think in general, I think it's great. I think there's a lot of access, there's a lot of creativity. I feel like there's room for people to find. I can always find a great craftsperson who can make something for me. I can still be very creative. Instagram's great because you get to meet all these people, find different things. I can look at things in Paris and antiques in Spain and, where you could never do that before, really. I mean, you can
Yeah.
search for it, but they're just right there. If you start down the rabbit hole on Instagram, then you start getting all these different things. So I'm always looking at what people have done in Spain or what people have done in Italy or some really cool hotel that some fancy architect has done. I mean, I think that's amazing inspiration for everyone as a designer. So I think it's moving in the right direction, and I don't think there's anything really negative about the design business. Even though, clients have more access to things, but my clients they're not interested. I mean, they don't have time.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
honestly, I feel like because there's so much, that's even more visual noise and that they even more need someone who's going to cut through it and say, what of this is good? I mean,
they
there's
all
so many
they,
bad things out there.
they all say, I want to go to the design center. I want to go here. They go one time and they're like, never take me there again.
Yeah.
I don't want
Yeah.
to see 4,000 fabrics. I don't
No.
ever take me to that place again
Yeah.
or go to,
Yeah.
High Point or anywhere. They're like, no, just
This
give me
is
some choices. That was the worst idea ever,
right.
so
Right. Yeah. Because it sounds like it'd be fun. Like you're going one place, but there's so much. You're literally picking, you might be picking fabric here and then you're picking the chair here.
our my brain or our interior design brains work like I know what I'm looking for. Like I can scan through this. I don't need this right now. I'm looking for this. And I don't bother with there's a rack of fabric, but I don't need all this. I need that.
Right. Right.
And so they're like, "Oh, well, let me look at this one." And no, we're not doing animal print. We don't need
Yeah.
to look at
Yeah.
that. We need to look at this. And I don't
Right.
think they can do that the way we can. That's why we can
No.
fly through High Point with ease. You know? No, 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 yes.
Right, right. After 3 decades in the business, what is the biggest or what is the most expensive mistake you ever made in business?
Thinking that I needed a lot of employees.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thinking that, I needed a big team when
Yeah.
I really only needed certain people to do certain things. Now I have a kind of a big team because we have a retail store and we have products and we have the design firm. So it's 7 of us, but it's not 15. But at some point, maybe just when we had just the design firm, maybe I thought I needed more people
Yeah.
than I really needed. And that
Yeah.
was a lot of payroll and a lot of, taxes and insurance and yada, yada, yada. So I've scaled that down to kind of just one assistant and then everyone else does other things and one person that does CAD. So there's 3 of us. So
Right.
I
Yeah.
think that was the biggest mistake. Just
You
trying,
think
but it's just trying. I mean, you gotta have
yeah,
to try
yeah.
things. If they work for other people, that's great. It just didn't work for
No,
me.
I've 100%. I mean, I think there are big teams out there, there are smaller teams. It's not not necessarily, and this is for different for everybody. That's really important for the people listening is what do you enjoy? Do you enjoy, because the bigger your team is, the more you get into management than you do designing,
Yuck.
which is
That's the
some people love
worst.
it and some people don't. And you have to be honest with yourself. What do you like doing? And if you
Like
don't
being
enjoy,
creative. I like designing. I don't want to
yeah,
manage everyone and hear the sad stories about how, they
yeah,
can't come in or they can't do that or they can't do this. I'm
yeah.
too busy. I
It's
didn't
really
enjoy it.
hard, and some people, that's their jam, and some people, it's not, and you have to be honest with yourself about what you
Sure.
really like doing, I think, and that's hard for people. Has the way you've charged for design changed through the years? Did you experiment with, like, hourly, flat fee, mix of both, or has it been the same pretty much throughout?
No, it was hourly in the beginning. Now it's a mix. So I do hourly because we do a lot of site visits, a lot of on-site construction. So it just works better because if you're staying there for, 3 and 4 hours at a site visit, I'm not doing that for free. You
Right,
know,
right.
I just would rather charge them and clients seem to be okay with that, but there is like a flat design fee
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the proposal in the beginning and then there's a flat fee for the entire contract, whatever that should be, a whole house or one room. So it's kind of a mix now.
yeah. I think that seems to be model that I like the most out of all of them because I feel like it covers you for the things that your expertise comes into play where, should you make less because you're faster at it? No. Like
Right,
obviously you
right,
shouldn't.
right.
So flat fee covers you for all the things you're experienced in, but then you're like really tightly defining what that scope is. And then anything over that or anything that's going to be like literally hours sitting there at the site visit or that can come be hourly on top of it and you can play around with it so that you're making the profit you need to make but still delivering what the client needs and it's fair, it's
Right.
fair, you're just trying to pay yourself
And we talk
appropriately and
about it up front, like an
yeah,
initial meeting,
yeah,
like what they're more interested in. Is it just going to be a consultation and colors and a plan, or is it, a whole house renovation or new construction? I mean, you kind of talk about how they want to work. Usually they're okay with whatever you say, but I have had one client want a flat fee for a new construction, and that was okay. You know, I just made it work. So
You just have to price it high
right, exactly.
because I can't tell what's gonna go wrong. Like, I
Right.
have to if I'm gonna be
I
flat
had a
fee, I'm gonna
limit
price
on the
it on the
time
high
frame.
side.
I had a time frame limit for the flat fee. Like if it went over 6 months,
That's
I'd be
smart,
free to
that's
negotiate.
smart.
And yeah,
Yeah, yeah, because you can't help it if they're winding their gears and not being able to make decisions, and that's something I think clients definitely get wrong a lot, is, like, if the timeline is causing delays, it's almost always the client's fault.
right, right, right,
It's almost always, "That's not me, that's you. You're changing your mind, you're making different decisions." And they don't realize how decisions affect other things. Like, you decide you're mad about the paint color, or the paint contractors, and you tell them to stop the work, they can find another job. So when
right,
you want them back because you're now no longer mad, you don't go at the beginning of the schedule, you go at the end of the schedule for
right.
them.
I
So that one decision of, like, I don't want them here today, means they might not be back for a month.
right, right,
Truth.
right, right.
I love that you created this book. I'm so excited. I really want designers to pay attention. Definitely, I think it's a book that designers could gift. They could use themselves as a refresher. They could absolutely, it's a beginning of designer, just like pay attention to all of the choices that you're leading people down, because because you have long-term experience explaining this to clients, and how, to me, that's a copy and paste this for yourself, because this is how clients want to listen to it. And so you reading through the book could understand how your consumers need to learn about color, and how you're teaching them about color can help them elevate the entire design. That's
Right.
what I think.
Go. Sounds fabulous.
Well, we'll end this up with a few fun questions. We're just about you.
Okay.
And these are your own personal choices. Coffee or tea?
Okay. Coffee.
Historic renovation or restoration, or contemporary retreat?
Historic renovation.
Paint or wallpaper?
Ooh,
I
paint,
know, it's
paint,
hard.
paint. Yeah, paint.
Paint. The color you're most using right now?
Green.
Green. I figured. Okay. The color you never want to see again? It's hard.
Hate. I like all colors. I'm kind of over blush.
Okay. Yeah, the
I'm kind of
millennial.
more into like a rosy, I'm more into like a rosy color than blush.
Okay. What is one design rule that you happily break?
Well, the last rule of the book is a surprise.
Ooh, I can't
It's
wait.
it's color rule 70. It's called you rule. So break the rules. Once you've learned all the rules, then you can break the rules. So
I love
what I
that.
like to do sometimes is challenge myself with color. So now,
Yeah.
I mean, once you know how they all go together, maybe making different combinations of something more unique or doing something completely different that you've never done before makes a room really exciting.
I think so too. Is there a business task that you would gladly never do again?
Business task, payroll.
I like that. Dogs in the design studio, yes or no?
A job in the design studio?
Dogs in the design studio.
Oh, of course, yes.
What are you still hoping to create?
Well, we still wanna do some fabrics,
Ooh, that
so
works perfectly. That makes so much sense.
I haven't found the right ground because a lot of our wallpapers have metallic kind of a metallic thread through it, and I can't find anything that's not $300 a yard.
Right,
So,
right.
that's just been the challenge with the fabrics, but, we are doing some lampshades in our Buscemi, this pattern. So we're
Ooh,
having a bunch of those for High Point because we're gonna have a booth at High Point. Woohoo!
very
At the,
exciting. Well, you'll have to
Amati.
send us over all the
Yeah,
details so that I can add that to because
yeah.
this will go out on all the podcast platforms. We'll be introducing it into our Instagram. It'll go under a newsletter with 30,000 email subscribers, on our website. So it will be everywhere. And we'll put that information on our website too, so that if you're at High Point, you're going to High Point, you want to see
Yep,
Susan, and you want to
yep.
check out these
Yeah, free fan decks. We'll have the
Ooh,
wallpaper samples. We'll have lampshades in our wallpaper. We'll have the book. We're doing a talk there, so it's going to be lots
I
of
love
fun.
it. Well, we'll definitely have to come. So thank
Good.
you so much. This has been fabulous and
Thank
love
you.
having you. Thank you.
Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by Curry and Company. Designers, you know the moment. You walk into the room and the lighting stops you in your tracks. Chances are it might be Curry. Curry and Company has built its reputation on pieces that feel sculptural, collected, and timeless, from hand-finished chandeliers to statement lamps, furniture, and accessories. Their collection is top-notch. If you haven't explored their newest introductions, take a look. Visit curryandcompany.com